Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Thursday, September 22, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. By becoming a member of the High Stakes Patreon, you will have access to our best team picks, total picks, parlay picks and much more. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting predictions that ends up costing you a lot of time and money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you 2 betting picks for each game, a team pick and a total pick based on facts and detailed explanation. So make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. West Virginia vs Virginia Tech. West Virginia has as disappointing of a 2-week stretch as it could have imagined to open the season. The Mountaineers allowed a late touchdown to lose their Thursday night opener on the road against Pittsburgh in front of a nationally televised audience, losing in a 38-31 final as 7.5-point underdogs. They were unable to bounce back as 2 touchdown favorites against Kansas in Week 2, losing to the upstart Jayhawks in overtime. West Virginia finally got back on track last weekend in its 65-7 rout against Towson. The Mountaineers scored on all 10 of their possessions, recording 9 touchdowns and 1 field goal. They have now scored 30-plus points in all 3 of their games and rank number 13 nationally in total offense, 513.0 IPC. Junior quarterback JT Daniels has completed 64.4% of his passes for 747 yards, 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. His top target has been junior wide receiver Bryce Ford-Wheaton, who has 24 receptions for 296 yards and 4 scores. Junior Sam James has added 11 catches for 194 yards and a touchdown. The Hokies are now wrapping up a 3-game homestand that began with wins over Boston College and Wofford. They were only 3-point favorites in their 27-10 beatdown against the Golden Eagles, but they were 38-point favorites in their 27-7 win over Wofford. I am going to give the nod to Virginia Tech in this game, though. Virginia Tech has won 7 of the last 10 meetings between these teams, and West Virginia is just 2-9 in its last 11 road games. The Mountaineers have already lost a pair of games to Power 5 teams this season, so I do not have faith in them winning this road game in a loud environment. Virginia Tech has been one of the top defensive teams in the country through 3 weeks as well, giving me another reason to back the Hokies. Our team pick is Virginia Tech +2. The Mountaineers snapped their 2-game losing streak with a win over the Tigers in their last game. They will try to keep the momentum going with a win over the Hokies, which will give them their 2nd win in a row and the Black Diamond Trophy bragging rights for another year. West Virginia is averaging 46 points per game. They are throwing for 295.7 yards and rushing for 217.3 yards per game. JT Daniels completed 64% of his passes for 174 yards and 1 touchdown. Tony Mathis Jr. had 17 carries for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns, while CJ Donaldson had 9 carries for 101 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Mountaineers, who finished with 316 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. The Mountaineers are averaging 46 points per game, and they haven't been held under 30 points this season. They average 22.6 points per game in their last 3 games against the Hokies. They have done a great job passing and running the ball, and they're playing a team that hasn't faced an offense as potent as theirs, so expect the Mountaineers to score more than 30 points in this game. The Hokies are averaging 23.7 points per game, and they've been held under 30 points in each of their first 3 games. They average 28.6 points per game in their last 3 games against the Mountaineers. Even though they're not explosive offensively, they will be able to exploit West Virginia's pass defense, which hasn't been very good. With the Mountaineers giving up at least 38 points in 2 games against Power 5 teams, the Hokies will score enough points to push the score over the total. Our total pick is over 52.5 points. Coastal Carolina vs Georgia State. The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers have been solid on offense in their first 3 games of the season. They are currently scoring 35.7 points per game, and they are averaging 431.7 yards. This is the 54th most points scored per game and the 59th most yards. They can move the ball on the ground or through the air, as they have multiple playmakers. The Chanticleers are averaging 255 passing yards per game, as Grayson McCall has looked great to begin the year. He has already tallied up 9 touchdown passes, 733 yards, and only 1 interception, as he has been keeping the ball out of his opponent's hands. This is the 57th most passing yards average per game as well. I would also watch for Sam Pinckney in this one. Coastal Carolina will use the run and the pass to drive the ball up and down the field. They run a very balanced defense and get everyone involved. On defense, the Panthers are allowing 37.3 points per game and 424.7 yards. This is the 117th most points given up in the country and the 107th most yards surrendered each game. They have been horrible in the past 2 weeks as they gave 35 points to the Tar Heels and 42 to a shaky Charlotte team. Their defense is decent against the run, though. They are only allowing 120.7 rushing yards per game as their secondary has been the problem this season. The Panthers' defensive line and linebackers have done a decent job against the run, as I would watch for Jordan Veneziale as he leads the team with 28 total tackles. Georgia State is also allowing 304 passing yards per game as they have continued to struggle against the pass. This is the 125th most yards allowed per game as they were shredded by UNC and Charlotte. The 49ers threw for 401 yards in Week 3 and North Carolina threw for 284. They have to be better than they were last week against the Charlotte 49ers. They have recorded 7 sacks this season as well. They will be looking to put pressure on Grayson McCall throughout this game. The Chanticleers have been solid as well. They are only allowing 27 points per game, which is the 80th lowest average in college football. They are also allowing 392 yards per game, which is the 90th most. They have been great against the run this season, though. They are only allowing 102.7 rush yards per game as their front 7 and linebacker continue to rally towards the ball. This is also the 41st least amount of rushing yards allowed per game. I would watch for JT Killen as the junior linebacker has been all over the field to begin this season. He has already recorded 22 total tackles as he is a problem on the defensive side of the field. I will be hammering Coastal Carolina minus 2.5 in this game against Georgia State. The Panthers struggled against the Charlotte 49ers last week as their defense continued to let them down. I see Grayson McCall and Sam Pinckney hooking up multiple times in this game. They will be able to successfully move the ball down the field as I have no faith in this Georgia State defense. They are currently giving up 37.3 points per game, which is the 117th most in the country. I also see Coastal Carolina stopping the Panthers when they have the ball. Georgia State is averaging 27.7 points per game, but they won't be able to lean on the run in this one. The Chanticleers are only allowing 102.7 rushing yards per game, which is the 41st least in the country. Their defensive line and linebackers have impressed me this season, and I see them playing great in this game again. The Panthers are going to struggle to consistently move the ball, and their defense will continue to struggle. Hammer the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and lay the points, minus 2.5. Georgia State's offense has not been able to compensate for its lack of defense. The Panthers are 86th in total offense, scoring an average of 27.7 points per game, while gaining an average of 444.7 yards per game. Georgia State is rushing for an average of 231.3 yards per game and passes for an average of 213.3 yards per game. Quarterback Darian Granger has 8 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions, while passing for 640 yards. Tucker Gregg is the leading rusher for Georgia State with 203 yards, with an average of 3.9 yards per carry. Jamari Thrash has 19 receptions for 336 yards and 1 touchdown to lead Georgia State. As previously mentioned, Georgia State will use its ground game to eat up as much clock as possible and keep Coastal Carolina from running up the score. The total has finished under in each of the last 5 games that Coastal Carolina has played on the road. The total has also finished under in 5 of the last 6 games that Georgia State has played in the Sun Belt, as well as in 4 of Georgia State's last 5 at home. Our total pick is 63.5 points.